Hi there, this is Cece with Going Solo, and you are listening to WGSN-DB Going Solo Network. And we are basically a radio, TV, and a podcasting station. So we are so glad to be here with you. Those of you that don't know me, I'm Cece Schatz, and I'm the doyenne of relationships. I help take you through one of the darkest times in your life into living your absolute best life. And so we help you with that transition on Going Solo Network in many ways, and when the radio is one of it. So we're really excited to be able to be with you. But you know, we really want to embrace where you're at, number one, because we have to start somewhere. And the other thing is we want to help you with that transition of where you want to be. And so often we're not quite sure exactly where we want to be, right? Because when we're traveling through that transition, we're just trying to kind of live through the day. And so that is what our show is going to be about. It is going to be about go beyond your story. And we have a wonderful guest here tonight. She's a delightful lady. I mean, extremely professional in her field. Her name is Nancy Mueller. She's a life empowerment coach, author, and speaker. Her website is called masteringyourbeliefs.com. And she is a public speaker. She's traveled around. She does global speaking. She is a best-selling author, and her latest book is Divorce Because Letting Go Does Not Mean Giving Up. And she is just a wonderful individual. And welcome to the show, Nancy.
Hi, Cece. Thank you so much for having me. I'm really, I'm excited to be here.
We are excited to have you. And I know you have your own show that we did a wonderful interview. And I want to thank you again for allowing me to be on your show, because it was just a delight for me. And thank you so much. So number one, I want you to just tell us a little bit about your show, because I want everybody to know that you have a show. I want to embrace that. And then I'd like to take you from the beginning of why you got into being a coach, a divorce coach, helping those through that transition of really, I think, one of the darkest times in our lives. I've been there. I know you've been there, but let's share that with the audience.
Okay, thank you. Well, as far as my show, I started out in radio, then went to podcasting, and now do video interviews for women entrepreneurs. Anyone who is looking to get a message out there. I really love helping women share their message. And it's a great third-party validation to be able to have someone hear your story, know your story, and help you share your story. So it's called Choices for Women. And I love doing that. So, and as far as how did I get started on this? Well, I actually started my business in 1998. My business was called WAVE, Women Against Violent Encounters, because at that time I was a student, competitor, and teacher in the martial arts. And I really felt like, oh, teaching self-defense to women, this is my calling. This is what I'm supposed to do. But as I taught more and more classes, I began to see how much the women were holding on to the philosophies of what I was teaching. So my coaching organically transitioned to the coaching that I do today, the speaking, the books that I write. And I help people through transitions. You know, I teach them how to go beyond their story, because our story is something that we tell ourselves. This is why I am so fabulous, or this is why I'm not so fabulous. Whichever way you choose to go with your story, it can either build you up or pull you down. And I really, really encourage people to pay attention to the story that they tell themselves and others every single day, and then go beyond that story. Because even if you're using your story to empower yourself, that means that you're doing wonderful work in the world. And so just keep going.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, I like so much what you do, because I like that transition. I think so often we miss the fact that our lives are really a journey, and that wherever we're at today, we won't be tomorrow, right? Exactly. And so we are continuously progressing in our lives. And so what I like so much about you is that you embrace that transition part. And so often people think that you can go from part one, A to B, or go to D and just miss all the other stuff in the middle. And you just can't do it, because life isn't about that. You have to, unfortunately, experience, some of the negative stuff to be able to really appreciate the joyous parts of it, don't you?
Absolutely. And when we're in transition, any kind of transition, whether it's a transition in a relationship, in a marriage, in your work, getting healthier, when the day comes when we decide, hey, you know what, I am going to start being healthier. That's a transition as well. From the time you make the decision or the choice is forced upon you, we're in transition. We're going from where we are to where we want to be. And tomorrow will be a day ahead, and the next day and the next day. So when you can give yourself permission to step back and say, this is a transition and it's gradually shifting. Because when you do that, you start to understand that this is a process. And when you realize that it's a process, that's when it doesn't feel so much of a struggle to you.
Yeah, you are so right, because that is true. It's like, I love that part about shifting. I've often said you can take maybe a side step, or you can just kind of savor that step a little bit, So it's all really about the process of the journey that you take. And so, when you start out, and I think a lot of us do start out in a very negative fashion when we're going through relationship loss of some sort, then we have this little voice, in back of us. It's maybe even telling us some of these things that aren't necessarily true, creating insecurities that we feel. But then as we're moving through, it's really great to have someone like you that can say to us, listen, you're not going to be here forever. This is not where you're going to end up. So let's sort that out. Let's figure out where you do want to go. Because so many times people just don't know. They just know they don't want to be there, right? They don't know where they want to go to. They just say, I'm not happy here and I want to get out of here.
Absolutely.
And so it's really a transition coach, a transitional coach is, I think, so vital to kind of start understanding the steps, number one, I guess we need to take, huh? So if you were talking with someone and they were like that, they were really stuck in the trenches of, relationship loss, trying to be able to move forward, or even making a major decision in their life, because sometimes just making a major decision will get us stuck a little bit. How would you go about helping them to be able to move forward in their lives a little bit? To help with that story, begin to write a new chapter. How would you do that?
Well, if I'm working with them as a client, what I have them do is write down or share with me, what is your story? And that means, like, in your mind, what got you to where you are right now? So let's say it's the case of a divorce, and some people that are experiencing divorce have all kinds of negative experiences, thoughts, beliefs. They talk about their ex or their soon-to-be ex in a negative way. And so that's a time where we say, okay, we're just going to get it all out. And then after that, we have to get to a point where we are no longer placing blame on the ex or soon-to-be ex. Because everything that we are striving to get to, everything about the transition is about our inner journey and understanding that every answer we're seeking can be found from within.
That is powerful. That is absolutely powerful. And which is why it makes you an expert in your field, is that you totally get that, is that, you do need to embrace yourself and be able to move forward. Let's talk a little bit about your journey, because your journey has been, it's really been one of self-exploring, hasn't it? Because you've come from, a divorce or loss, relationship loss, but then you've not only did self-discovery, but then you started putting this down on paper and you started writing these wonderful books. So share with us a little bit about the journey that it took you to start exploring yourself, to realize, number one, you have a creative way about you that you can express yourself in writing. So share with us that journey that you went on.
Well, actually, the first book that I wrote it as I was going through my divorce, because, you know, I would be up on stage talking in front of women and groups of women, and I would hear murmurings of, well, that's all well and good for you, Nancy. You know, you've got it all going on. Your life is perfect. Everything is wonderful for you. And in the background, my life was falling apart for all intents and purposes. And I felt that in order for me to be, to walk my talk, that it was very important for me to let people know, you know what, this is what's going on with me right now. And this is how I'm going through it. So my first book was written as I was going through my divorce. And I had a very high belief in myself, but I also, to me, it was a devastating time. There were days when I actually felt like I was walking through Jell-O. Like everything seemed so surreal. My life felt like it was ending. There were days that I didn't want to get up. I didn't want to go on. I didn't want to eat. Nothing felt real. So to say it was surreal, I think it's an understatement, because it just felt like almost like I was on the outside looking in at someone else's experience, what they were going through. And I think if one more person would have said to me, oh my gosh, don't worry, you're an awesome person, it's going to get better, that just doesn't help. So anyone watching this, you know, like, I just think that's the worst thing that you can say to someone, because the thing is that the person who's going through that hears those words, and it sounds like and feels like that person is really not empathizing in the way we need them to empathize. And so likewise, I think that's a really important point right there, because who do we usually go to when we're going through these times of transition? We go to friends and family. And I almost felt like, oh my gosh, if I share this story one more time with my friend, she's probably just going to hire someone to stick me in a trunk someplace. And, you know, because I'm like, oh my gosh, I must be bringing her down so much. But because I do this work for a living and I have all these tools and techniques. But when it happens to you, it takes on a different aspect, I guess, because for me, I was trying to learn as I go. And what I mean by that is on the days when I didn't feel like I was just absolutely melting or falling apart, I wanted to make sure that I was paying attention to what I was learning, because I knew that it would ultimately be a tool that I would be able to help clients with as well. And then, you know, there are things, though, that when we go through certain things, we sometimes say, oh, this is going to make me stronger. This is going to make me better. This is going to make me more knowledgeable. But there are also times when we say, I would just like to have someone else learn this, because I'm tired of learning.
I get it. I get what you're saying. Yeah.
Yeah. Somebody else learn this.
Yeah. Give me a break, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I know. Well, I'd like to share with the audience the name of the book. It's Chocolate or Vanilla, Life is All About Choices. That's her very first book. And it is a bestseller. All of your books are bestsellers, so they're absolutely wonderful. But one thing I've noticed with all of your books, it's really about choice, right? Absolutely. And really, and your whole essence of what you do is creating choices. And I remember going through my divorce and thinking that I have a choice whether I'm gonna, you know, be constantly in the muck of things, or if I'm going to rise above and try to figure out, what am I going to do? You know, number one, what am I going to do for a career? What am I going to just do for my whole life. I mean, it's like you're really starting over. And I mean, a lot of my friends kept saying to me, well, it's like a new beginning. You can kind of treat it as like a new beginning. But, you know, that's hard. It's hard when you're in your 50s to start as a new beginning. But I love the idea that we have a choice. So we can be, you know, watching Hallmark movies and crying if we want, or we can try to redefine our lives to, you know, move forward with it. So I love the idea that we have choices, you know, that it's not all, it's not a lost cause, right? We're not a lost cause.
Right. Well, and the important thing is there, I'm very fond of saying life is all about choices. I mean, it's pretty much my tagline. Life is all about choices. And the reason for that is it's not just an either or choice. There are many choices, but sometimes, you know, especially like divorce, it feels like I'm married or I'm not. That's an either or a breakup, someone that you've been with for a while and it's a really hard breakup. I'm either single or I'm with someone. The thing is about your choices, you're going to make choices based on your beliefs. And what you believe to be true will determine the choices that you make. So when you're going through a divorce, if you have very strong beliefs about marriage and not getting divorced, that's going to heap guilt on you. That's going to bring shame and feelings of really negative feelings that you just, those are things that you're going to combat. And when you can't step out of that, when you can't let go of that, your choices, what you choose to do, is going to be highly impacted.
Absolutely. I remember there was a time when going through my relationship loss, I couldn't make any choices at all. I just was scared to make a decision about something because I felt at the time I was a failure, you know, mm-hmm. going through a long-term marriage and then ending up where I am. And I know that I'm not the only person that ever thinks that, for sure. But at the moment I felt that way. And I was just so paranoid of actually making a choice. And so that I was really frightened about that. I was really scared that I was thinking if I don't start, you know, gutting it up and being able to move forward in my life, I wasn't going to ever get anywhere. And your second book, it struck me because the title of it is Healing the Child Within, Life is All About Choices. And when I read that title, I thought to myself, you know, when I was going through that where I couldn't make a decision, I was almost like being a child. Like I was scared to make a decision that I was going to fail again at something. So what progressed you? What made you, you know, what inspired you to write the second book, your second bestseller?
Well, my mother had pretty much been absent from my life, most of my life. And when I was going through my divorce, I had been married for 32 years. When I was going through my divorce, I live in California and she lives in the Midwest. She called me and she said, "Is it true what I hear that you're going through a divorce, you're getting divorced?" And I said, you know, kind of roll your eyes and like, "Oh, I don't need to deal with this as well." And I said, "Yes, it's true." And she said, "Nancy, please let me be there for you. I've never been there for you your whole life. And you're going to need someone at this time. Please let me be there for you." Well, first of all, when someone offers you something you've never had, you're not even sure how to take it, how to accept it, or what to expect. So I just thought, you know, this is too much for me to think about right now. And I just said, okay. And in the beginning, she basically just wanted to be able to call and say, "Are you okay?" And she wanted to hear me say yes. But what was interesting was when I wrote my first book, and as I said, I was publishing it during my divorce. So now that she comes into my life, this kind of threw up a red flag because I said, "Well, Mom, I think you should know that I've written a book, and based on the fact that you and I are trying to have a relationship, I'm not sure if I should publish it." And she said, "Why not?" And I said, "Well, because it doesn't put you and Dad in a very favorable light." And she said, "Well, can I read it? And I said, sure. So I sent it to her and she read it and she got back to me and she's like, well, you're right. It doesn't put us in a very favorable light, but I think you should publish it. And I was so surprised. And I said, why? And she said, because it's the truth. And I think it's time for the truth to come out. So that was the start of a different relationship between my mother and I. And then as my mom started following my work and watching me on social media, one day she said to me, you know what, Nancy, I'm watching all the stuff that you do with all these women. She said, I had no idea you were so brilliant and so talented. She said, when you were growing up, you used to say things that used to just scare the hell out of me. And I never knew what to do with you. And I tried screaming at you to keep you to just make you shut up. And I tried beating it out of you. And when none of that worked, she said, I just ignored you. I had no idea that you had so many talents. And I think maybe what you're doing for other women might work for us. What do you think? So I said, well, you know, we could just kind of see. And it's not like I took her on as a client. It was more like I just started sharing things with her and she started being open to some of the things that I talk about. And so that's where the second book came from.
That's beautiful. And I'm glad you and your mother have a good relationship now and that you're able to move forward and really build something, because, you know, it's really about choices. If you choose that you want to have a relationship with someone, you know, you may have to do the building blocks of creating that to happen. You know, it's not going to happen overnight, but it is something that you can have a choice to do. And so I think it's beautiful that you and your mom are able to reconnect now. And I'm sure it's very enlightening for you to get the support, you know, for that. Now, I want to go on to your third book. So I want to make sure we don't run out of time because I love what you do. But your third book is it's a divorce because letting go does not mean giving up. And I really thought that was an interesting title. So what made you come up with that type of book?
Well, quite honestly, that book was divinely written. I woke up on a Friday morning and I felt really just like I was going out of my mind. Like I didn't want to sit. I didn't want to stand. I didn't know what to do. I just felt like, what is going on inside of me? And so I called my daughter and I went to visit her for the weekend. And when I woke up the following Tuesday, I sat down at my computer and basically just started writing this book. And it was finished by the time I went to bed on Tuesday. So that book was divinely written. I just felt that. It's so much so that after it was completed and I reread it, I almost felt like I can't share this as mine because I don't even remember writing half of this. But I do know that, you know, Spirit chose me to share this message. And so absolutely, you know, when we're chosen to do something and we accept, we need to put that out there. And the following Tuesday, I published it and it made the bestseller list that same day, which told me that there were a lot of people who are struggling with divorce and trying to make sense of it. Mm-hmm. And the reason, when you think about divorce and you think about letting go versus giving up, because some of us tell ourselves our story is that, oh my gosh, I'm getting divorced. It means I have to give up my life. It means I have to give up this and that. And the thing is like, it's not giving up. When you can make that switch in your mind, because it's a choice. Yes, you know, we choose. Am I going to believe that I am giving up or that I'm letting go? Because letting go tells you that you're in charge. You are in power. You are not giving your power to someone else. Absolutely. And there are 3 questions that I ask throughout the book. What feeling or belief can I let go of right now? What feeling or belief will I let go of right now? And what feeling or belief do I need to hold on to for just a little bit longer? Because sometimes we need to stay where we are and hold on to the story that we are, going over and over in our mind, because that's the only thing that makes sense to us right now, or that's the only thing that is keeping us sane. And every one of us is where we are for a reason. And we should never let someone tell us, you should be farther along. You should let go by now. You should be dating by now. You should, because it's really no one else's business.
Mm-hmm.
And, obviously, if you are depressed and anxious and just can't get outside of yourself and having feelings of anxiety, that's something that needs to be addressed. But you definitely do not want to judge yourself based on where someone else thinks you should be on your journey.
Yeah, I so agree with that. So often I'm asked, how long does it take, to go through divorce, they go through the transition of divorce, and, they come up with this, some people have come up with this equation, well, how long you've been married, this many years or whatever. And I said, no, stop, because that doesn't really affect you. What affects you is how you feel, and going through the various steps you need to go through. Because I think the thing is, we do need to go through all those various different steps, the denial, the anger, the grief, and all of those various different steps that we go through the process of the transition. But the letting go is a very hard thing. And I love the fact of what you said, letting go does not mean giving up. I mean, that when I read that, I thought, oh my gosh, can I really relate to that? Can everybody I know relate to that? And it's true, because it's like that with everything in our life. Sometimes if we let go of something, it's not necessarily that we're giving up, but we're releasing maybe some of the negative part of it, as far as we all believe in the universe, good things coming back to us. So if we let go of some of that, the negative part of it, then we can embrace maybe a new journey or a new experience that might be coming towards us. But if we can't let go of it, we're going to be kind of stuck. But then again, I do think that you have to take it at your own pace, like you said.
Yeah. Well, and I've broken the book down kind of into 3 parts, the 3 stages of divorce: thinking about it, going through it, and putting it behind you. And each time I talk about how one stage affects the other 2, because when you're going through stage 1, thinking about it, depending on your thoughts, feelings, and beliefs, emotions, everything that comes up for you, your story about why you're thinking about it, that's going to affect stage 2 and stage 3. Likewise, the other stage 1 and stage 3 affect stage 2, and so on. So again, this is an internal journey. And when you feel like you have just given up, that tells you that you are telling yourself that someone else has power over you. But when you say, no, I've chosen to let go, and whatever that means to you, let go of the anger, the sadness, the self-judgment, letting go, it covers so many areas.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it really does. I remember, just to share something about my life, I remember one time my ex would send me, messages or whatnot, and he demanded an answer immediately. He wanted me to immediately answer. And I remember I decided I wasn't going to do that. I didn't, if it wasn't something that I really needed to answer, I didn't answer, And I remember him saying to me, well, why aren't you answering me when we met doing something, some sort of parenting type of thing? He goes, why aren't you answering me? And I said, because I don't have to. And
right.
And that was my letting go right there, is I realized, even though I didn't know what I was doing, I was actually just letting go. It's like, I don't have to do that anymore,
Well, and when we're in a relationship, especially for many, many years, we actually are living out of habit. And whether you're talking about relationship, job, whatever it is, we live unconsciously, subconsciously. So, there are things that we do automatically that we may not even realize we're doing. And like in your case, what you were saying, when your husband would call, you would answer right away. That's a reaction that you learned. That's learned behavior within your relationship. So when you learn that, oh, that's actually giving your power away. And of course, that has to be a conversation between 2 people. But knowing that it's not an either or, I get a message, I have to text right away. it's a conversation now. Okay, well, I appreciate that you're sending me a message. Please know that I'll get to you when I can. And see, it's a conversation. That's the way it has to be. Otherwise, you have one person having power over another person. And then when we just ignore that day after day after year after, it gets to be so that we don't even realize that we've put ourselves in a situation that is so disempowering. Then when we go through a divorce, we feel like, oh my gosh, I'm just so glad to be free of all of that. But the thing is, you still have to go back and understand why you allowed yourself to give that power away in the first place. Otherwise, you're going to recreate it in the next relationship and so on.
Yeah, create that same pattern in your life. Absolutely right. Now, I know that you do public speaking. So share with us a little bit about that you do, that you go out globally and speak.
I do, and I teach workshops. I love doing workshops in the areas wherever I am about empowerment. I love being able to share messages of empowerment, and it's all about go beyond your story. I talk about the inner warrior, tapping into your inner warrior. We all have this inner warrior, that part of us that is so strong, and we don't even realize that she's in there. And it's that inner strength that we have. And when you learn to tap into that, when you actually learn how strong you are, and when do we normally learn that? When we are put in a situation where we have to be strong. Most of us don't want to have to go through that. So we just are never put to the test. But when you're put to the test and you're like, whoa, I didn't know I could do that. I didn't know I had the knowledge or the strength or the courage or whatever it is that it needs to happen. Now you start to understand that you can do more than you ever gave yourself credit for. And I know that when I call it the inner warrior, obviously that comes from my martial arts background, but it's just like you get this mental picture of this freaking amazing woman inside of you that is so powerful. And when you allow her to just take over and say, come on, walk with me. We're going. We've got this. We're unstoppable. Let's go. And whatever she looks like to you, for me, it's a warrior because, like I said, my martial arts background. For someone else, it could be Wonder Woman or Superwoman or, I don't know, Katie the homemaker. It doesn't matter. Whatever your, figure in your head is, that is great. But this is where we have to allow ourselves to go back to that childhood innocence and say, yes, I have a superhero inside of me, a superpower, and I am now ready to tap into that and be unstoppable.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think we all do, both men and women. I mean, I think we have a greatness within us, and that we need to understand that and allow it to shine, allow it to be able to blossom out. Because I think sometimes as we're going through some of these dark times in our lives, we start questioning who we are, and maybe there are shifts that we need to create. Maybe there are things that we need to change within ourselves. But that's all really a growing experience for us, and what a wonderful thing that can be, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. We are all here because we each have our own individual mission. We're not here by accident. We didn't just say, oh, look, it's a Nancy, or, oh, look, it's a Cece. We all have a purpose. And many times, especially if it's a really big purpose, we have to go through the dark night of our soul before we realize what our purpose is. Like for you, Cece, I'm guessing that you wouldn't be doing the work that you're doing had you not gone through your divorce. But when you were going through your divorce, it felt like the worst time of your life, I'm sure, and that it was something you would never recover from. Likewise, for me, I thought, that's it. I can't keep doing this work. I give up. I'm done. I couldn't even hold my marriage together. Who do I think I am to stand in front of people and say, this, this, and this? But it was that knowing inside of me that this is why I'm here. I know that I'm here to do the work that I'm doing, and I have a choice. I can either give up and say, oh, I was wrong, or I can say, no, I wasn't wrong. Let's see where this is going to take me, and take the experience and go forward from there.
Yeah, that's so well put. I've often said that even my own experience, and I've shared with other people, I think that wherever we're going through, there's some sort of learning experience in which we're supposed to embrace. And, we don't always understand what it is. And sometimes we have to allow ourselves some space and time to be able to figure it out. And I know for my own personal journey, and it sounds very similar, I think, for you, is that we didn't expect to be where we're at, but the journey, the doors just kept opening, and I always said, like, a lot of times, I would say God would open a door for me, but I tried to climb through the window instead, I always try to make it harder on myself. But there again, it kept opening, and more people kept coming into my life, changing me, encouraging me, embracing me. And the same, I think, with you. And so we're where we're supposed to be. And so let me ask you, what's the next step for you? Have you thought about what you're going to be doing next?
Actually, yeah, I'm very excited. I just launched a new group coaching program for women. It's called Unleash Your Inner Warrior. And I'm really super excited about it because I've resisted working in groups in the past, mostly because I feel that the work I do is very personal, and someone who has a story that they're trying to get beyond, perhaps they don't want to share it, with other people. But I have found a way to be able to just to get past that little hurdle. And obviously it was my hurdle. And so I'm very, very excited about this because this gives women the opportunity to not feel alone, because that's the reason women go to the bathroom together, right? We don't ever go by ourselves. So, it's like, yeah, I want to do this, but I kind of need my peeps to go with me. So I'm very, very excited about this. And I feel that, Spirit is leading me in this direction. And I see retreats happening around it. So I'm pretty excited about it.
Yeah, I'm sure it'll be very successful. I've done probably more group coaching than I have done personal coaching. And I have felt that the connection that you have with everyone together, it really embraces everyone. And I think it creates almost like this natural bond. And people feed off of it from each other, and they nurture and help each other. So I think I love group coaching. I think that's definitely a great way to go. And are you going to be doing this online, do you think?
I am, because the way that I set it up was, it's not about a certain pain point in anyone's life. It's basically about transition. So whatever transition you're going through and you want to work through, anything that has you realizing that you are here, but you want to be there, that's transition. Mm-hmm. And so it doesn't have to be like two women going through divorce or two women, whatever, it doesn't have to be a like experience, because no two experiences are alike anyway. So
oh, absolutely. Yeah, I agree with that. I think sometimes we have the common, the common factor, in place, but the journeys and the experiences are all so different from each other. So everybody can kind of relate. It's all relatable, but it's their own personal journey, even within a group. And that's kind of very inspiring in itself, because you see people around you making change or taking shifts in their lives and things like that it inspires other people. So yeah, I think it's a very cool thing. I'm glad you're doing that. And of course, any way we can help you with it, we want to support you. So most certainly. So that brings me to making sure that we know all about how to get a hold of you. So let's put it up here, your website information, so they have it, but they can email you right here at info, right? At MullerGlobal.com. Mm-hmm. And then also the website, which is going to be coming up here, but it's Mastering Your Beliefs, plural.com. And so please connect with her and make sure that you get signed up for these group courses. I can't even say courses. Yeah. It would be wonderful to be able to do that. But let's also talk about your books. Now, can we get them on Amazon?
Yes, they're all available on Amazon, and I'm actually working on number 5. And it is a fiction. So this is challenging me in a way that's been really fun because I feel that I can share a message in a different way, but I'm so used to having to check references and facts and everything. And now it's just like, wow, whatever comes to my mind, I can do. So I'm having a lot of fun with it. And it's called Secrets in the Attic, A Journey Back to Love.
Oh, very cool. Now, did I miss a book? Because I only talked about 3 books.
That's okay, because one I co-authored with someone else, and it's about vision boards. Yeah, the power of vision boards. Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah, I love that. I love vision boards. And I actually have a vision jar. I don't know if you've ever heard of that.
Awesome.
One of our hosts, she helped me make this jar, and I love it. It's great. I shake it, and I think it just puts me in a very positive place. But let's go over the books again. So everyone, you can get them on, and then I'm sure you have a link or something on your website too, right?
Yeah, if they go to the services page, it's all listed right there. Right.
And so the first book is Chocolate or Vanilla, Life is All About Choices. The second book is Healing the Child Within, Life is All About Choices. Mm-hmm. And then the third book is Divorce, Because Letting Go Does Not Mean Giving Up. And so I think these are wonderful books, and I want to thank you so much for sharing all of this with us.
Thank you, Cece. I appreciate you allowing me to share my message and for you to help me share my message, because I believe that when we work together and collaborate in a like experience, we are just raising the vibrational energy of everyone all around us.
Absolutely. Now, is there any last words that you would like to share with our audience?
You know, what I would really is, okay, so if we're talking about divorce, if you're going through a divorce and whatever stage you're in, thinking about it, going through it, or trying to put it behind you, please give yourself permission to feel whatever it is that you're feeling. And when you find yourself trying to censor a feeling, you are going to struggle more. We are not here to struggle. And it sounds crazy, but it's so true, that if you allow yourself to say, this is easy, I've got this, push the easy button. We can struggle, or we can take the easy way out. That doesn't mean that you can just not have to deal with the feelings and emotions. We still have to deal with that. But it's very, very important that you know that wherever you are, this is where you're meant to be. And embrace it. Embrace it. Even the hard stuff. Embrace it.
Oh, that is so powerful. And thank you so much for sharing with us. And you're a delight. You're a good friend. And I want to thank you so much for spending this evening with us. And I know that you are changing lives. I know you're creating that shift in individuals, helping them be able to move forward in their lives and really create the life and the story they want, you know, and that's what it's all about, isn't it?
Absolutely. Because when you think about it, you know, everything out there is even culturally, you know, gearing us to think that we did something wrong if we're going through divorce. Have you ever noticed when you're filling out a form of any kind, it says single, married, divorced? And I always found that interesting, because if you're not single, you're married. If you're not married, you're single. So why is the divorced box necessary? So just be very conscious of the thoughts, feelings, and emotions that are coming up for you as you're going through this transition, and say, get curious. Ask yourself, why did that cause me to get angry or frustrated or feel guilt? And when you can start asking yourself these powerful questions, that's when you start to realize how much power you actually have. That's what helps you reach in and unleash your inner warrior.
Oh, that's perfect. Well, listen, everyone, again, her website is masteringyourbeliefs.com. And Nancy Mueller, thank you so much for being on the show with us. We really appreciate it. We appreciate the time that you've spent. And I hope everyone will reach out to you, buy your books, you know, sign up for your course that you're going to be taking, the online coaching course. I think it'd be great to be able to be together and really, you know, connect with other people and go through that. I think it'd be a wonderful experience for everyone.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Cece.
Well, This has been a really great show. I mean, I've been really excited about it. I'm so glad that everyone was able to enjoy it as much as me. And so I appreciate you guys being with us here on Going Solo with Cece. This is WGSN-DB Going Solo Network, and we're going to bring you great guests on the show. We want to be able to help you with that transition, help you move forward, go to where you want to go, and enjoy the story that you're in. So that's what it's all about. This is Cece, and I'm going to sign off. I'll see you next Thursday, same place, same time, and I can't wait for it. Talk to you later. Bye for now.